Okay, superheroes.
I'm the bro.
We have 30 seconds until we launch our Learnapalooza event. 30 seconds. What we are going to do is count down from 10, and then we are going to make as much noise as possible to launch our event. We have complete thumbs up from library staff to make as much noise as we can. So this is our opportunity for all those missed years of making noise. Are we ready? We're going to count down together, starting at 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now you're awake.
Yes, and welcome everyone to the 5th annual Learnapalooza. My name is Chris Olson, and last year for me, Learnapalooza was a life-changing experience. I walked in the door, I saw the color, I heard the buzz, I felt the energy. I thought, wow, this is different, this is cool. Throughout the day, I met all these wonderful superheroes, just like you. And by the end of the day, I realized, wow, I found my work tribe. And I had no idea that I could even have a work tribe. Yeah, it for me was really awesome. That's our work tribe. What happened after that is I started making new choices. I got involved in the local learning community. I got involved in Learnapalooza. I started disrupting how I was thinking. I started learning more innovative strategies that I could bring to the learning world. What it felt like, literally, is that I was coming alive. It felt like I was coming back online. And it was awesome. After that, I got a new job, and it's a Chris job. I love my job. And coming alive, coming back online again, that was a key contributor to my getting that job. And Learnapalooza and the choices that I made because of my experience in Learnapalooza were a key contributor to my getting that job. And what that means is that today and tomorrow can be a pivotal experience for each and every one of us. And so I invite you to identify, what do you want to get out of today and tomorrow? What do you want to experience at Learnapalooza? And then, what are some ways that you can help support that in happening? How can you be proactive in creating that experience? Because it's all of us together. We co-create the magic and the transformation that is Learnapalooza. It's us. We're creating it. And so I invite you to be open, to be willing, and to go for it. I'd like to introduce you our two co-captains of our adventure. These two are awesome people, like all of us here. They are smart, they are strategic, they are, yes, innovative, they are disruptive, they are creative. That's right. And they have really big hearts, very generous hearts. And all of us, we are here today because one of their passions is building a community where we innovate and we disrupt the world of learning and the world of people ops. can you please help me welcome our Chief Innovator, Petershick, and our Chief Disruptor, Darren Nerland.
You have been a delight to collaborate with for the last year. So, as Chris said, my name is Petershick, and I'm going to get a little technical assistance here because I'm actually the analog one in this team. So, thank you, Darren, for that. Welcome, everybody. It's amazing to see all of you. How are you doing? All right, you sound awake. I like that. Hopefully, you'll keep that level of energy throughout the day because you might have noticed we're at kind of a breakneck pace for the next 8 to 10 hours, however long we're here together. So it is a library though, so for those of you who need to step away from some of the excitement and the energy, throughout the day we have a lot going on. I do invite you to take advantage of the space as it opens to the public at 10 a.m. If you need to find a quiet space or quiet time to reflect, please. For all of my precious introverts, because I know there are a lot of you in learning and development. Take space and time for yourselves as needed. So just want to point that out. So I want to talk a little bit about how we ended up here. As Chris mentioned, Darren and I have been doing this for about 5 years, and it's grown and it's iterated because that's really how you make powerful change happen. Is kind of step iteration, particularly when we're talking about innovation. And we decided to go out to the community. Chris and I, Chris Olson, whom you just met, decided to go out to our fellow L&D, HR, OD friends, and people who had opted into what Learnapalooza was and had to offer for the last 4 years, and ask you all, what do you want? We've learned some things, we've done the iterating, we've collected some data and some feedback, and we do this really scrappily with basically not much budget and not that many hands and heads while we're also doing our day jobs. And so Chris and I took it as an opportunity to collaborate when we first met at an ATD networking event. Any ATD people in here? That's right, so there's lots of channels for this connecting and community building. So Chris and I actually used design thinking to say, okay, what's that nexus of design thinking and learning experience design? What are people really looking for? And we got some answers. Your aggregates in the form of personas came through very clearly in these small workshops. And you told us, we're looking to connect. We want to connect with our fellow tribe members, as you heard Chris call us. Quite simply, we're looking to build community. Particularly powerful if you're an L&D department of one, right? Yeah. But equally important for all of us who work in big organizations. I now work for the Boeing company, so I have a totally new tribe. But some of my best ideas and my best collaborators are absolutely outside of my workspace. And I can bring it back to work. Then people were also saying, not only do we want to connect, we do want to find ways to collaborate with each other. So maybe you, like Chris Olson and I had a chance to do, or like Darren and I have a chance to do, might find somebody here where you connect on some level and you have ideas that are sparking and are finding fertile soil to turn into something amazing that you too can offer to the community. And you don't have to do your own meetup. You don't have to set up a whole new networking group. You've got channels right here in this room. You've got a community right here in this room who would opt in to what you have to offer too. So be thinking about that as you experience today. Hey, maybe you want to come back and be a Learnapalooza speed learning facilitator, because that's really the only element we ever bring back. Or offer something else. Have an idea about how we can continue to innovate and disrupt. Because sometimes in the weeds of making this all happen, the myopia of our perspective as organizers and thinkers and doers, we need help leveling up each year. We think that we get pretty creative, but this is a co-creation. Then of course people were saying, and we also want to learn all this cool new stuff. And a lot of that entails technology, sure. What does chatbots and AR and VR guess what? You've got people in this room who can totally talk to you about that. And more, much more, you know. We're hearing a lot about the buzzwords, the sexy words out there when it comes to innovation, but how do we actually really learn that? And how do we take it back to our work? Today might not be the day that you do a deep dive on, you know, chatbots or AR or VR. If you were here last year with Myra Roldan, you probably did get to do that. Where's Myra? She's here. So there are people in the room who can talk to you about that and direct you to resources so you can keep that learning going, right? This is one day. This is a one shot. So if I can ask anything of you, it's to keep the learning going, get curious, get fired up, get connected, you know, get replenished and come back online, as Chris said. And then of course, finally, how do I apply all that cool shit that's going on out there? So let's talk about it together. What does that really mean for you in your day-to-day, that you can go back to work and say, I learned this cool new thing, I have some ideas for collaboration, either internally or externally, and this all comes from a connection with my community. So, hey, look at me, I'm even better at my job. I've powered up on my super skills. So we did name the conference this year, I hate calling it that. If you saw any of the emails, I'm the one who writes those. I'm the irreverent, sassy voice behind those. The one who's totally willing to drop an F-bomb with you, just so you know, but might sprinkle in a little ass or a little shit in my email. So kick-ass facilitators, you know, rad-ass peeps. So superhero view, we were looking a little at pop culture. We were inspired by what we saw happening around us. And then, of course, there's even like that deeper, primordial, you know, hero's journey archetype. We're all kind of on this journey. What are the obstacles and challenges that we're facing? What are the skills and allies that we have at our disposal? Who can we marshal around us? Much like you see the Avengers and the Justice League marshaling their folks around them, and then also lean into our own skills, our own, you know, our own genius. Because I think a lot of L&D folks, sometimes we suffer from imposter syndrome because we're non-traditional L&D folks. Sometimes we just, you know, are busy developing others, and so we don't put as much time and energy into developing ourselves. This is an opportunity to activate the genius and your own superpowers, and then amplify it by finding your tribe and your Justice League or Avengers. So that's kind of the birthplace of the conference theme. We hope that you have the opportunity to think about and explore bridging your skills gap. We get that we're not going to do all things to everyone today, but, you know, maybe we get you going on the next iteration of you. So, we have some amazing volunteers. You've already met Chris. She is one of our disruptors. We also have Bruce Cronquist. Where is Bruce? Probably upstairs getting my timer ready for my 15-minute speed learning rounds. Okay. So if you see either of these two people, they're A, very friendly, B, very amazing, C, very smart, total badass, rad-ass peeps. So feel free to ask them for help if you need to. I also have some other amazing volunteers in the room. We tightened up speed learning this year. We brought in coaches and facilitators to help each other and create a learning community, led by volunteer extraordinaire Teresa Franco Macaro. Where are you, Teresa? So she's the quiet one in the room. And then Julie, I don't know if Julie's here. I think she had a conflict, but Julie was also an amazing. Julie, are you here? I don't think so. Also, yeah, an amazing coach, middle school educator turned coach who just really, you know, she wants you to stand and own your own awesomeness and then just Care Bear stare it out to the rest of the world. And of course, if you are one of my amazing volunteers, can you make some noise? Some folks in the cool t-shirts with our logo on it, they are also here to help. They'll do things like directions and things like that, and helping us with the food and just kind of keep things run smoothly in the background. Many hands make light work. And then, of course, if you're on my advisory board, I know several of you are here. Andrea, Rosie, John, where are you? Thank you. we've been trying to message this, but, you know, let's just recap my gajillion emails that I wrote and sent to you. So we're going to work through speed learning, one of our favorite things this morning after the keynote, and it's a tightly run, aggressive schedule. We have 15 minutes. You have 5 rounds or 5 stations you can visit. You have about 3 minutes to get up and go to the next station. So as we're wrapping up Shelly's keynote, sorry about that, Shelly.
Sorry, I didn't answer anything.
Right. Hey, you amazing woman over there. Speed learning folks are going to dash upstairs. They're going to take the elevators, which are going to be open to the public. You might have seen those when you came in. You can also take the escalators, and I'll have volunteers helping to show you how to go around and up to the 4th floor. And so we just ask that you be mindful of you know, your fellow participants, their bodies, their spaces. I know David Stahl is here with the broken leg, so, you know, maybe we give him a little extra help, you know, put his Justice League around him, and anybody else who needs help. Then we're gonna, for lunchtime keynote, we are back in here. Again, pretty aggressive schedule. After the speed learning rounds, you do have a break, but it's really just a break to come down and get food, right? And that is going to be in the gallery where you saw the coffee and the beverages and snacks. So grab a plate, come in, find a seat, and we'll kick right off with our amazing Cabio Learning Solutions architects, Luann Swedberg and Aaron Schneider, walking us through a little more design thinking because not all superheroes can fly. Then we'll do the afternoon sessions. Those are all going to be up on the 4th floor, same places you'll be today for speed learning, rooms 1, 2,
Actually, some of them are down here too.
and in the auditorium. So we're using all of these spaces. So be thinking about what you want to visit. It's all in your program. This is the room location, and timing. And then, of course, we'll have some pop-up coaching. I don't know if I've seen Laura and her team here yet. They might be rolling in later. Laura, are you here yet? Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but we will have opportunities for people to get one-on-one coaching if you do need to step out of the fray and take a break, maybe go level up yourself with some one-on-one coaching, because even superheroes need a coach. All right, some of you also got to see the dots for your thoughts, so continue to engage with that if you have a chance. We loved all the photos that we saw this morning. Keep taking those, that's amazeballs. If you're looking for a job, or you have a job, you're hiring, there are dots on badges, you know, use your collateral to connect and engage with each other, and then, yeah, post it on social media if you don't want. And that, I think, is, oh, yeah, sorry. Housekeeping, restrooms. Please don't use the ones in the children's area. Those are just for children and their caregivers. But we do have ones that you can access through here, just to the right and past the phones, the old-fashioned, like, wall phones. Yeah, if you see those, so millennial, no, sorry, youngins, it's like way under the millennials now. Going on these wall phones. Wi-Fi, most people have probably seen, it's just open and free. SPL, public Wi-Fi access. And then, like I mentioned, for the 4th floor, you both have elevators and an escalator. Don't go to the yellow escalator because that will not get you to the 4th floor. You need to go all the way around to the red room, and again, just look for my volunteers. Anything else? I get it all. Okay. So with that, all the fun, sexy stuff, I'm going to turn it back over to Darren. So I think I talked about this. So.
All right. All right, so if you're a techno nerd like me, or if you're not, that's okay. If you're on Twitter or Instagram, these are our hashtags. We'd love to get this on social media. This year we sold out the event again, so 200 people that are like-minded. Yeah, thank you all for that. As Darren said, you know, so this is really a passion project for Aaron and I. We actually do have day jobs, and so we do this on the weekends. We spend a lot of time doing it, and then we take a few days off work to get this all together. But we can't do it without our volunteers, and we certainly can't do it without our sponsors. So let me give a shout out in a minute to them. But I wanted to, so a lot of you filled out the form, and this is this is who you are. This is the people that are in the audience. So there's a lot of people, obviously there's the managers, there's training, learning directors. The whole point of this was to really just see who's here, right? So who's in the audience and to connect with people, which is pretty cool. The other thing that we did is we said, well, what are some of your superpowers? And my superpowers is to break equipment. So here's what you said for your superpowers is, which I love, is you see a lot of this, right? Which is it's all about people. A lot of you were talking about creating things or empathy. So this really fits into the theme of what we were trying to build, or what we continue to try to build, is that the tribe or the community. So what this tells us, Darren and I, is that we're on the right track. So we appreciate that. We thank you for that, giving us that feedback. And again, this is the next day and a half is all about you guys. And so we really want you to tap into those superpowers and help other people grow, as well as get your own growth going too. So these are our superhero sponsors. Can we give it up for them? The great thing about our sponsors is we're very strict, by the way, on how we do sponsorship. We ask them not to sell to you, during Learnapalooza. They're around, but again, we want them to learn from you. They want to learn from you, from them. And there's some stuff up here. So we got things from Better Up to Totara. We got the coloring project. This is, I think, the third year that we've got John Chan and team from Geoteaming videotaping us and wandering around. Thank you, John, for that. Amp Creative is doing the photo booth. How many have done the photo booth so far? Alright, cool. So that's really kind of fun. We got some props and stuff over here. Mandel, is Mandel here? People from Mandel? Yeah, they handled the printing of the programs. How many like the program? Isn't this cool? Yeah. I kind of a comic book thing where you can actually draw your experience over the next couple of days. So take some notes, draw there. Tatara also did the notebooks. And then Better Up did the really cool, what do you call these things? Cinch sack. Yeah, so lots of, design digitally. Yeah. Design digitally. Andrew, are you here? He'll be around here somewhere. They sponsored the lunch and the coffee breaks. Intrepid is a great sponsor. They're actually speaking here. Nick, where you at? You're around somewhere. Nick is speaking today. So again, we can't do this without our sponsors. So thank you to all of them. The other thing that we can't do it without is our partners. So as Aaron said, we're big about community and ATD. I think she said ATD people. You belong to ATD? Yeah. Nice. How many people belong to the Pacific PNODN? I always get it wrong. How many are PDN? All right, good. And then Hackney HR. All right, good. Okay, as Aaron said, we've got a full day. I want to start off with a quick story, though. And this is a superhero story, and what it takes to be a superhero. The reason I think that it's really interesting living here in Seattle, and by the way, we've got lots of people that have come in for this conference, not only to speak, but just to be here, which is, again, is really fun for Aaron and I. We've got some people from Vancouver, BC. Raise your hand. I know we've got someone from San Diego. Raise your hand. Texas. Texas. Is it Ohio? Cincinnati. Yeah. All right, good. Someone from New Zealand. Yeah. Did I miss anybody? Call it out. What's that? DC. Washington, D.C. Yep. Nice. Phoenix. We have a couple of someone from Phoenix, Arizona. All right, good. So we're with New Zealand. That makes us an international conference. So we're in the land of I think innovation. If you think about it, Look at Eddie Bauer was started here, right? There's a lot of innovation and disruption. Boeing started here. Microsoft started here. Did you know that the first automated donut machine was created here in Seattle? True story. You can Google it. That was my favorite one. Starbucks started here. So lots of innovators start here in Seattle. So this story begins, and it begins with this gentleman, and his name is Harold. And he grew up, he was born in 1936. He grew up in Eastern Washington in a little town called Wenatchee. Anybody know where Wenatchee is? Yeah, I figured, yeah. In 1940, there was 11,000 people in Wenatchee. So not a huge town by any means, certainly not like Seattle that had, at that time, over 500,000 people. Nice picture of Harold. What's interesting about Harold is, so he grew up in the apple capital of the world. Some would say, hey, it's great to live in a small town, which I agree with. He has a quality about him, and you're going to find this out in the next couple of minutes, but it's a quality that some of us have and some of us want, but I think it's a superhero quality. So, the interesting thing about Harold, though, is he dropped out of high school. So he dropped out of high school. He married his sweetheart. She was 16. They went to Idaho to get married against their parents' wishes and stuff like that, right? So he was already being disruptive in the world, right? Now, the challenge is when you're 16 and your wife is 16 and you're 18, 19, is what do you do for work, right? So he actually was a florist for a little while. He worked at a poultry plant where they killed chickens, right, and plucked them and all that. And then he worked at a gas station for a while. He's trying to provide for his family, right? So then they moved to Oregon because there was an opportunity in Oregon for him to be a logger, to drive a logging truck. And back then, if you think about it, and even in the 50s, people would take work wherever they could, right? Again, he doesn't have an education. He's eager though. He's eager to do these things, right? So he moved to Oregon. He did some logging, drove logging trucks for a while. Then they were on the way to Alaska. They were going to get a job in Alaska, which was great, right? They really wanted to kind of move up in the world and someday buy a house or something like that. Did I just go backwards? No. Yes, I did. All right. So, but on the way to Alaska, they stopped in Seattle, and the job disappeared. So what's this person supposed to do when the job disappears? And you're kind of stuck in a place, right? So they had to live with family for a while. They had to, but he's out there and he's like, hey, I got to get a job. Again, I'm going to support my family. So he gets a job at this place called Tally Register, which makes small parts for airplanes and stuff like that. It was an okay job. He did a pretty good job of it. But again, remember some of the qualities, right, that I haven't told you yet. But think about this. Is as he's doing that, he's like, how do I do this? How do I better myself? How do I better my family? He walks across the street to this plastic fabrication company and says, hey, you're doing some interesting work. I'd love to come work for you. I'm your guy. They hire him. Now the interesting thing about plastic fabrication back then was mainly signs. How many remember some of these signs? If you do, you're a Lord like me. That's okay. But you notice something about these signs. All these signs were just flat signs that needed to be painted, or they need to be cut out, right? So that was an interesting thing. So in this industry, which then he started really getting into this industry, saying, this is really interesting. How do we do things differently in this industry? So there's Harold in the bottom here. He's talking to someone about the plans. Look on the left-hand side, it's kind of hard to see. That's a machine that actually, the way I understand it is they brought the plastic in, they heated it up, and then they sucked it down. It's called a vacuum former. They sucked it down around the mold, and it made a three-dimensional sign. So in the plastic industry, and he was one of only 2 people on the West Coast in the 60s that could do this. They were called plasticians. Right now, I think plasticians mean something else, which I don't need, although I do need a little something there. But so he was really starting to, to push the limits here. So one of the qualities is the innovation, right? He's innovating, trying to figure these things out. What happened next, I think, is pivotal to Harold's career. The Seattle World's Fair is going to happen. So in 1962, how many people remember 1962? I don't, because I wasn't born, so there. But Harold was there, and you notice that, so the whole theme of this was supposed to be a space-age theme. And the challenge that they had was, how do we get these things that haven't been done before? Because that was the whole point. We're looking into the future, so we're going to build a space, we're going to do all these kinds of things. So if you think about, how many, does anybody remember the bubbleator? Yeah, the bubbleator. People, many of you have lived or have ridden on the monorail, right? So here's the challenge. Back in the day, think about this, as I said, just a few years earlier, Harold was working on how do we make signs more three-dimensional. He was the only one on the West Coast that could figure out how to make the bubbleator, the plastic that goes around it in those different sections. He's the one that figured out how to do this weird, funky window on the monorail. So here's this kid, dropped out of high school, that's figuring this stuff out. So, and how does he do that? That's what I want to know. Here's another one. This is how plastic used to be bent, right? They would bend plastic, they would heat up and come up into a corner. The problem is that it would get all wonky because the heat would spread, right? So you notice that there's metal at the bottom, the heat would spread. So they would try different things. They would try wood and stuff like that. He said one day, you know what? What we should do is instead of having just metal across there, we should have metal, but it should be a metal pipe that's cooled down with liquid, so that way the heat is only centered where we want it to be. It doesn't go out 2 or 3 inches, it's not uneven, it's actually within a 1/4 inch. You could then bend plastic, and actually it looked beautiful, right? So he's innovating in this industry. In fact, I would even say he maybe disrupted it a little bit, because now other people are starting to do this. Here's one more. So the problem or the challenge with plastic can also be that when you glue it, so they use something called cement in plastic. And by the way, if you look at these displays, notice how nice the bends are. You're going to actually hopefully do this. Notice how nice the bends are. These are probably done in that same way where and if you don't see any, like these are actually pretty well, there's a little bit there, oh my God. But you see, this is because of that innovation, because of the way they bend plastic. If you see plastic that's glued together or cemented together, the challenge that you can have, and you can see it on the left-hand side, is it does something called crazing, which means that the glue gets in there, but because the oxygen isn't pulled out, it actually causes it to kind of crack a little bit or look like it's cracked. And so people didn't want that, right? Especially if you think about the 70s and 80s, like, hey, you know what? We're paying big money for this plastic, and you would see fish tanks that looked okay and all that. Again, what he did is he innovated. He said, hey, I'm curious about this. What can we do that would be better? What did he do? He went and got a chemistry book, figured out what you could do to take basically it's the oxygen and that sort of thing. So it's called acetic acid that would take the oxygen out as the cement was drying, and you would actually have clear cement between the two plexiglass pieces of plastic. So revolutionized the way people were thinking about doing development in the plastic industry. So the whole point of this is he innovated. He disrupted. He did things that no one else had done before. This whole industry, and by the way, things have changed radically, right? We now have what they call injection molding and stuff like that. But a lot of this stuff goes on, especially the things, like I said, about bending, the three-dimensional signs. You see this all over the place now, right? He changed the way they thought about developing fabrication of plastic. He did it because he was curious. He was curious to see how could we do this better. He was customer obsessed. He said, how do we want to get out there? How does my company want to go out there and do this. By the way, one of the things I forgot to mention is after he had been at that plastic fabrication shop, he started his own business, owned that for almost 30 years, and again, was continually innovating. What did I say in the beginning? What was he? He was a high school dropout. He didn't have an education. He also didn't have the permission to do any of these things. He just did it. And why did he do it? Because he was curious. He was interested in what was going to happen. And to me, that's the value of a superhero. Someone that's going to go out and innovate. Someone that's curious. Someone that loves the customer so much that they want to give them the best that they can get. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So today, what we want you to do is we want you to embody those as well. We want you to be a superhero, because in my mind, this person's a superhero to me. And I think you can do it too. And a lot of us have a degree or a master's. A lot of us have either worked together or been together. Michael and I have known each other for 25 years. I know him to be one of the best e-learning developers, instructional designers in Seattle.
Not hiring.
Not hiring. But here's the thing. When you get to know people, you get to know their superpowers. That's what we want you to do. So this gentleman, Harold, he passed away almost 16 years ago. He made a huge difference in people's lives. He made a huge difference in my life because this is my dad. The way I conduct business, the way I think about my customers, is because of this gentleman right here. I just want to point out my sister, my mom are here. They came just for this because it doesn't matter, man, woman, whatever. There's always someone there to support you. My mom was that superhero in the background, supporting my dad throughout all of this, right? Because not all of it's easy either, though. For me, my dad, and then for this conference, Darren is my superhero. We're sidekicks. Some people are like, it's the Aaron and Darren show. And we're like, no, it's not. And then we're like, well, I guess it kind of is. Yeah. It's the Aaron and Darren show. Okay. Well, let's thank you for indulging me in that. And also, again, I firmly believe that we're going to make a difference in the next day and a half. I want to introduce you now to Shelly Holt. We're so excited to have Shelly here. When we reached out to her, a lot of times you reach out to people in the community, you're like, oh, you're a VP over here, are you willing to do it? And she said, I don't know what it is, but I'll do it. And we're like, well, hold on, let's tell you a little bit about it. And then we told her about it, she's like, oh shit, I'm in. I'm like, okay, you already said you were in, so thanks for that. So Shelly Holt is a thought leader, innovator, and strategist, passionate about helping and enhance and expand the power of people. That's you. As a leader, Shelly believes that her greatest gift is strengthening those around her. As such, she's invested personal and professional time coaching, mentoring, and developing others through her career. Shelly has held senior level roles in global organizations like Concur, SAP, and recently joining Expedia Group in last August as VP of LPS Learning. She has a degree in business economics and is certified in critical human capital areas like leadership coaching, performance consulting, strategic workforce planning, and strategic human resource management. Holy crap, that's a lot. She's like a superhero on steroids. Shelly, although superheroes don't really need steroids, do they? No, it's all right. I digress. Shelly is a Washington State native and loves spending time with her husband Mike and two kids, Madison, who's 13, and Tyler, who's 10. Let's give it up for Shelly Holt, please.
Congratulations, great story. Welcome everybody. I think everybody needs to stand up. They need to do their superhero pose, whatever it is. Pick one. Stretch it out. Woo! Actually, I think that was my thing. Yeah, whatever. I don't know what it is. Sure, I'm going to do it. Oh, shit, I'm in. This is awesome. So thank you for letting me be a part of this, and thank you, Darren and Aaron, for coordinating all of this. I'm going to talk to you guys about a topic that, I'm going to talk to you about a topic that is first and foremost in my mind on an everyday basis. And I'm going to give you some interesting statistics. If you're not as economic nerdy as I am, I'm going to bring you into my world a little bit and give you some statistics on where the world is going. So we have a good starting point, because when I look at the agenda of all of the sessions following this, I get really excited, because we didn't plan it, but everything I talk about, you're going to speed do after this. So this is really exciting. So let me start off by saying, I think we're all aware that the global economy is changing. I think we're all aware that the complexities of competition in the marketplace are huge, that data is abundant, and that change is happening everywhere, and scale matters more than it has ever mattered before. How many of you are nerdy like me, raise your hand, and you read about the future of work? Okay, so the rest of you, you're like the ostrich, heads in the sand, you're hoping it's not going to happen. No, I'm kidding. But if you read those predictions, it's pretty crazy, some of the stuff that they're saying. In fact, new predictions are coming out on a daily basis, and some of them are pretty doomsday. I always think about that TV show where the people pack up their cans and they go live in the bunker and they hunker down waiting for the end of the earth. Some days I read these statistics and I think that's going to happen. So what I want to talk about today is how we take that information and we leverage that. Leverage that for us as learning individuals to unleash our superpower. So this new era of transformation, of digital disruption, of innovation, it's being coined as the fourth industrial revolution. And it's being coined as one of the most complex. This is a great summary by Deloitte. But it's complex because it's taking computing, it's taking data, it's taking artificial intelligence, and it's putting us in this universal, connected, hyper-connected world. And so it's causing all of this chaos. And what's interesting is that all of this chaos that we used to talk about as the future of work is really the future of now. And at the heart of all of this is something that Darren touched on, innovation. Innovation is a powerful thing. It's an amazing thing. It's gotten us from your story with plastic that didn't bend and couldn't make anything to all of a sudden this really, really cool thing. And now we have things like this, and we don't even think twice about how this is going to stand up. We just know it will. So that's what innovation can do. If you look across the tech market, innovation's done that for years. I think everybody probably has a mobile phone that now connects them to anywhere they want in the world. Well, we didn't have that 15 years ago. But that innovation also creates a lot of disruption and a lot of chaos. And it's really, really transforming our workforce. And what's crazy about it is that it's happening even faster than was predicted originally. So when I read about those doomsday predictions, some of them I have to really stop and say, wow, like we gotta get on that. We gotta solve for that now because tomorrow is too late. We used to talk about things like in 2020. You guys realize 2020 is like, almost 7 months away now? Yeah, 2020. So future work is 2020. We're behind. We gotta get together. So here's where I get nerdy, okay? So the US Bureau of Labor Statistics says that more than 50% of today's jobs will require new skills. And they're saying that that's going to even increase further, that technical skills are going to become a major component of every job. And I'll talk to you in a minute about how that's already happening. Half of the most in-demand jobs, this was 2018, half the most in-demand jobs posted by LinkedIn were not on the list 3 years ago. That's crazy. And we all know that LinkedIn has a lot of data on us and what we're doing, so this is a crazy statistic. 35% of skills workers need will change by 2020. Oh, 2020, again, 7 months from now. This is happening. It's happening now. And by 2021, the innovation and the development world that will allow us code faster will take people who aren't developers, and now they'll be able to create new innovation. It's pretty crazy if you read up on this stuff. That's going to cause what? More disruption, and it's going to be even faster than it is right now. And then 73 million jobs, this is one of the doomsday ones, 73 million jobs could be lost in 2030 because of AI and automation. So, skills are evolving. And I think when I take a step back, and I'm not going to age myself, I'm not going to use my plastics, but when I think back to when I first entered the technical market, when people talked about innovation, it was basically the coders. The people that are developing product, the coders, they need new skills, they need to learn Java, they need to learn AWS, whatever the new thing on the market is. They were the people that had to do it. The rest of us were like, sweet, like our jobs just stay the same. Like these developers, they gotta learn new things, we don't. But that's not the case anymore. Every job is changing. Every job is requiring a new set of skills. And most of those are requiring technical skills. So let me give you some examples. Sales. Do I have any salespeople around? Yes, sales, great. So your jobs are changing. So when you used to think about sales, you thought about you need to be able to pitch, you need to be able to negotiate, you need to be able to close the deal, right? That's your core skills. Guess what? Not the case anymore. Because now your customers have access to so much more data, so much more information, and not all that information is helpful to them. And so as salespeople, your job is going to need to be to cut through that data and to help them make better buying decisions. You're going to have the technical skills to understand the data and be able to do that. What about marketers? Do I have any marketers in the room? Okay, marketers, you're changing too. I'm sorry, everybody's changing. So the world between marketing and sales, my salespeople and my marketers, your worlds are morphing. Sales jobs are being lost to marketers who now have snazzy technical skills that can push out buying decisions for people, and they can do it online. They don't even need to talk to a salesperson. And so marketers are going to need to get more technical in nature to cut through all that noise that those customers are getting to put the right products in front of them and to help close deals. And then all of us in this room, we are customer facing in some way. We might be internally customer facing, we might be externally customer facing, but we service people. Our jobs are changing too. We have to learn skills like empathy. All this data that's coming at people, we have to be much more empathetic to understand how chaotic and complex this can feel to someone, and we need to become data interpreters. We need to be helping use that data to solve complex problems for our customers, internal or external, and we need to be able to help them so that we can drive adoption, we can drive stickiness with our customers and keep them coming back. And that is true in the learning space too, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So I spent a lot of my time, probably over the last 2 years, talking to senior leaders at different companies, at different industries, all the way up to the C-suite, asking them, in this age of digital transformation and digital disruption, what do you think we need in order to help propel that change forward, and quite frankly, stay employed in a business? And every single one of them, it doesn't matter if they're in a sales role, they're in a CEO role, they're in a technical role, said that we all need a core set of human skills. Human skills, get this, you guys are gonna get excited. Human skills like resilience, growth mindset, learning agility. Those are no longer the soft, squishy things that they used to ignore when we brought up to the table. Now they're the things they're saying we need. We need to propel forward. So this is kind of exciting. My ears are perking up. But getting to this agility, this ability to learn new things, it's not going to happen overnight. We have to change mindsets. And that is both individual mindsets and cultural mindsets. So we can't just rely on telling people, these are the things you need to learn, because we know that doesn't work. No one wants to be told anything. Instead, we have to teach people. We have to be intentional about this. And we have to show people through teaching, through learning, and through experience. And if you don't believe me, if you think, look, you don't believe me, and you think, okay, she's just some hoed up girl from Seattle, Darren. He's like a genius in the future of work. And he basically couldn't have summed up better what I just said in one paragraph. But he says that the means that you have to have, this means that knowledge and experience, those technical things, the job role things that you've always relied on are not what's going to propel you forward. But that it is your ability to learn new things quickly and apply them to new situations. That the commodity is these human skills. These things that robots, these things that VR, IR, all the R's can't do. That's us. We can do this. So what? I talked about how there's days I want to hunker in a bunker and just like say this is doomsday and I should just wait till I'm unemployed in my bunker and I can just start that early. And we don't know what predictions are going to come to fruition, right? We don't know if by 2030 all our jobs are going to be automated. We don't know any of that. But we do know that innovation is happening. We do know that disruption is happening. We do know that all of this stuff with the workforce is going way more rapid than we thought. And we have to decide, are we going to be a community that sits around and just hopes that we can rest on our laurels and life's going to go well? Or are we going to take some risks? Are we going to try some things in the face of unpredictability? Are we going to be agile? And are we going to adjust when those things don't work? And so I'm going to share with you, because I think it's really important not to just take statistics and do nothing with them. I'm going to show you some practical things that my team, where's my team? my global team couldn't be here, I couldn't fly everybody in, but my Bellevue-based team is here, so thank you. I'm going to show you some of the things that we're doing that is making all of those statistics practical application. So I'm going to talk about kind of 4 core enablers to the new world of work for us. We'll talk about meeting the learner where they are. We'll talk about reimagining the learner experience, creating a culture of practice, and measuring and adjusting at critical chains of impact. So let's talk about meeting the learner where they are. This is an important one for me. So Erin said it earlier where she said, does anybody ever, I can't remember the exact word she used, but basically feel like you're an imposter in the learning world. Okay, I feel like I'm an imposter. I didn't grow up in the learning space. That I happened to get a job in learning and running learning, but that's not my background. So some days I feel like I'm an imposter. And so I'm going to touch a little bit, and I'm going to touch on my HR friends in the room, and hopefully you won't be offended because I was an HR person too, and I still am. But I think where I'm talking about here, when I'm talking about meeting the learner where they are, that a couple of things. One, we need to be building learning programs, especially ones that are focused on learning agility, growth mindset, resilience, emotional intelligence, into the flow of people's everyday work. What I mean is that we need to create environments that meet the learner where they are today, so that they can learn the skills that get them where they are tomorrow. And we do that by partnering with our businesses, understanding what that transformation at a business level needs to look at. We need to look at current state and then future state, and put the right learning interventions in functionally to make sure that people are moving forward. So when I talk about what I think we do sometimes in the HR and learning field, is that I think that we oftentimes have an idea about what people need to learn. And because we have that idea, we try to create programs and think it's going to be really exciting for people, but we don't create a compelling case for change. We definitely don't meet them where they are. We put it on top of all the other shit that they're doing in their job. And we expect that they're going to want to learn it. And guess what happens when they don't want to learn it? We mandate it. We say it's highly required that you take this training. And guess what we're doing to ourselves in that own instance? Can anybody guess? We're going against everything we just said. We need to teach learning agility and growth mindset, yet we're forcing people to learn. That's not teaching them what we need them to. And so meeting them in their current place of where they're at and teaching them how to learn within the world they live in is going to make it much easier for us to build those skills that are most critical, those human skills. We need to reimagine the learner experience, and it's exciting because it sounds like from several of the speed topics, you guys, these are on here, like this reimagining the learner experience. So we need to think about the fact that learners want consumer-grade experiences. They want to feel like it's effortless to learn something. They want to be able to gauge, collaborate, come back to things. And this is what always cracks me up, is that this isn't like a big shocker, because are we not all learners? Don't we all want that? I know I do, right? So we know that learners want that. We need to be more creative. We need to be thinking about how we no longer just rely on tools that work for us to measure learning, like LMSs, but really what sits on top of that? That snazzy, sleek UI, that interconnection of all those tools that come together. I'm looking for, there's a gentleman I talked to right before this morning, and this is what he does. He pulls everything into ecosystems and basically helps create a world in which we're meeting the learner where they are with one-stop shop approaches. Learning is not a standalone, learning is part of an ecosystem and systems that they go to every single day. And so I'm not going to read through this list because I think you guys all have heard this before, right? What I will say is that we don't do this well in learning. We expect people to go to disparate systems, we don't connect programs, and we don't get people to this amazing learner experience. So we need to really reimagine this world. We need to create a culture of practice. So what we mean by this is people don't learn by going to one-time events. You probably learned some things today, but you really learn through repetition. You learn through the ability to learn something, to practice it, to apply it, to learn, to practice and apply it. That's the definition of learning agility and growth mindset. And so creating a culture of practice is moving away from these one-time events and really creating these journeys for people in which they can learn, apply, and practice. Some of the things that we're doing in our world around this is coaching is a great example. So we're building out a coaching practice. Hence some of our coaches. We're building out a coaching practice where people come, they do digital learning, they go and apply some of the techniques that they've learned with their teams. They come back in cohorts and they talk about how it's working and what do they need to learn and how can they help become better. And they're doing this over an extended period of time, 6 months. Now, are they going to be coaching experts at the end of 6 months? Probably not. We're going to have to solve for that later. But we're building that learning agility, that repetition, meeting them where they are in their jobs, and we're creating this continuous culture of practice for them. And the amazing thing is, I know I've got data analytics people here, and I'm not going to profess to be one. This is why I rely on really strong data analytics people. But the amazing thing about building a culture of practice is that we now have more data that we can look at. And we can say, you know what, do we need more skill development in this area? Do we need another learning intervention here? Why are we not getting from awareness to application? How can we adjust? So when you think about global market trends and you think about the fact that the world is changing, there's skill shortages everywhere, this is how we start to use learning as a differentiator in building critical talent in our organizations. We start to build new skills for people that teach them how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. We measure where they are through those measures of impact, and we start to increase areas of skills that we need. We start to build a different workforce than just having to recruit people into the organization. So, you have a choice. You have a choice right now to say, in this world of chaos, in this world of disruption, I'm going to go and live in my bunker. And in this instance, it would be I'm going to rest on my laurels and do the same thing I did the last 10 years and hope and pray that that's the right strategy and it works. Or you can be a disruptor. You can do some things, you can try some things, and you can take a few risks and measure and see if they're working. If they're not working, be quick, fail fast, try something else. But you have to do something. And we can't just sit around and not do anything. So this is the way I look at all of this. I look at all of this and my excitement goes up. Because this is our chance as learning professionals to unleash our inner superheroes. We finally have a case to say that all of the things we've said for the last umpteen years, you have to have learning agility, you have to have growth mindset, you need to have complex problem solving skills. All of these things are now a critical part of strategy execution. execution and transformation for companies. Like, does this get you excited? This is an opportunity. Yes, it gets me so excited. And what I am even more excited about is that we, in this room, 200 some people, are a bigger team, a tribe, it was described earlier. So we don't have to take all these risks on ourselves, we can use our tribe. We as learning folks, we as innovators, we as disruptors, we as strategists can come together and collaborate together, test out new things, and share with the community how they're working. And this is exactly why I said yes right away to this event, before even knowing anything. Because the power of your community and the power of your tribe is how we're all gonna get through. We have the chance to really show why people are the differentiators in every single company. So I hope that you will continue this conversation with me. This is all my contact information. I would hope you would reach out. I hope you would challenge if you hate my ideas. Hate away, because I want to know why and I want to adjust. I don't have all the answers. My team doesn't have all the answers. We always say we're building the plane when we're flying it, because we're Expedia. We're building the plane when we're flying it, but it is true. It is true. And so I hope that you use this opportunity today to build your tribe, to challenge and share ideas, and to unleash, I gotta get my prop. To unleash your inner superhero. And I don't know, I don't have like a whiz-bang, like cool thing for what my superhero is, but I heard one really good one earlier today. Someone said that they had X-ray vision, and I thought that was awesome. And then they said, you look like you could be Elastigirl, and I've heard that so many times. And so maybe I'm Elastigirl, right? But in any event, unleash your superhero, have fun, network, and let's kill these statistics. Let's make an impact on this stuff. So thank you, everybody.
Does that get you energized or what? A couple things that we want to point out. Erin's going to come up and talk a little bit about speed learning, but I want to point out a few other things. Here's the job dots in case. So if you're looking for a job, you want to put a green dot on your badge. If you're hiring, you want to put a red dot on your badge. So that way we can kind of identify who's in the market, who's hiring, that sort of thing. Again, trying to be helping out through the community. If you didn't get a raffle ticket, come up and grab one. The small side goes in here. The big side is yours. It's kind of hard to read the numbers, but we've got a raffle later on this afternoon and tomorrow. Tomorrow's the big prize, by the way, for that. The other thing is you can do this during breaks, during lunch, this sort of thing. Also take some dots. And you want one dot per poster if you haven't done it. Is go through and read some of the dot for your thoughts posters and put where you think they are. At the end of the day, I would encourage you to come back and look at them, because it's a really interesting thing. When we ask questions about things like considering cultural agility, where are we at? This is, you can see we're kind of all over the board, but then we see other things where we think about our jobs and how they're shifting. So really interesting. We've done this. We did do it last year. We did it the year before. But really interesting to see, where we think the industry is going. So feel free to take pictures and post those on social media. Does everybody remember the hashtags? Lap Seattle, yeah, hashtag Lap Seattle. I also want to point out that many of you have seen some of these. The coloring project. They do this for us every year. Last year they did this card, which is really fun. It's a coloring card. There's another card here. She's got some other samples and stuff like that. The coloring project, Andrea is so great at helping us out and doing some of these things. So it's another fun way, by the way, from a learning standpoint, is to help you kind of engage, so as you're sitting and listening, you can color something, which I think is interesting. We're going to talk about Fabio at lunchtime. As I said, Tatara, Nicole from Tatara, she's got a speed learning session. By the way, she's brilliant. But feel free to come down and talk to her and grab some of the stuff here. Better Up, we've got 3 or 4 people here. Maya's speaking this afternoon. Again, we can't do it without the sponsors. As we mentioned before, the people with these shirts on are the ones that knows what's going on. So if you ask me or Aaron, we're going to go find someone with this shirt on. They know what's going on. So if you have questions, they're going to help us with directions. The other thing is during lunch, we're going to open up the photo booth at the end for you to take some fun pictures and stuff like that. We got all kinds of stuff going on there. And I think that's all I need to say. Aaron?
All right. So we're a little ahead of. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm so used to using my outdoor inside voice. Well, so we're actually a little ahead of schedule, so that means you have a little more time for a little bit of a break and getting settled and getting my speed learners, speed learning facilitators upstairs first. So here's who you're going to hear from. Let's make some noise for Marcy, Chloe, Myra, Shelly, Darren. But they're here all day, so even if you miss their session, make sure that you connect with them later. If a station is full, move on. Try and find a different station. We think that we have enough space to kind of move the bodies around equally so that you can get to your priority topics. But Teresa is in room 5 upstairs, and she has capacity for 20 people. It's a not to miss topic, so if it's not on your list, I would recommend it. And that's a great place to go if you just want to, collaborate with a bigger group and if a station's super full, and that's in between the other 2 rooms. Okay, so with that, keep in mind that the food and beverage should stay in the auditorium, and I think in the classroom upstairs is okay, right? Not in the classrooms upstairs. So keep the food and beverage here in the auditorium or in the gallery. So
One other thing about speed learning, just so you know. So the way this works is when we start, and we start exactly at 10:30, so you've got a little bit of time that works out. We start at 10:30, which means that for 15 minutes you sit at a table and you're listening, you're participating, stuff like that. We have a timer in the room, and then when that timer goes off, you have 3 minutes to get to another table, either in that room or another room, and then you spend another 15 minutes. That's why it's so tight. And we start on time. There is no like, hey, wait for me, I have to go text someone. It's like, no, we don't do that. We start.
It works. It's a little messy in our hand. You guys, I would have to say so.